Alrighty guys, welcome back for more Path of Exile. So in this video what we're going to be focusing in on is trying to min-max, making our character stronger and stronger. Now I've already completed 115 out of the 115 maps to get the Atlas bonus passives. That's going to make it so we can kind of spec into what we want to. Now obviously this build can do it as I've already completed all of it. And it was really easy to do all of these maps. And if you need to get certain maps, you can go to Chirac to re-roll them and see if you can maybe get that map to roll, or just purchase these from players. None of the maps on here are really that expensive. There's like one that's like 30C, but for the most part, most of these maps now are relatively cheap. They don't require you to do like everything. But you can also do other things like kill like Elder Slayers and stuff if you want to get these things called favorite map slots. We'll talk more about that maybe like in another video, but for the most part, it's just trying to clear out and getting those extra passive skill points is really big. So this is what I've spec'd into, just in case you were wondering, as I have changed it a little bit, and feel free to keep the build that you like. But this is what I personally have changed, because as sometimes the league gets newer buffs, basically, what happens a lot of times is other content creators will figure out kind of which setup is going to be one of the best for Atlas passives. But just because one of them is the most rewarding doesn't mean that you have to do it. If you don't enjoy the content, then simply don't do the content. Do the thing that you enjoy the most, even though it may be less rewarding or mathematically some sort of percent could be a little bit lower. Just do what you want to do. Here's what I've spec'd into, and you don't have to respec into this, but this is just what I personally spec into. I always start off with strong boxes and shrines, and I've always mentioned that, and I'll probably always do that. So shrines, excellent, as well as the strong boxes. So yeah, shrines, strong boxes, I always get those no matter what, just because I've always really enjoyed it. They're really fast. I've spec'd into Legion right now. I used to do like Ritual, but Legion is apparently really good this league, and specifically with one new skill that I want to show you guys, Vaal Arc. It's kind of like a super, it's an ultimate skill. It's really fun to see all of the things kind of explode. So this is what I've spec'd into. Keep in mind you don't have to do it, but I'm just showing you guys here, and we're going to do a Legion so I can kind of show you guys why I like to do Legion. Let's go ahead and just do the gameplay first, and I'll talk a little bit about like other pieces of gear. One of the most important things that I personally like to get is Impulsas. This is going to make it so when we shock an enemy, it's going to explode and basically have all the other enemies kind of around it die. It's really good for clearing. However, for bosses, Doriani's prototype will outclass this by like 400+% like negative resistance into lightning, which it's really not hard to see that it's way better. But for clearing like a bunch of the trash monsters and getting to the boss, this thing is just, I love it so much. Anything that does like enemies you kill explode dealing X%. You used to be able to get it on like just basically chest pieces that you could craft, but now it's significantly nerfed. So the way we do it is just with this, because this is a 100% chance. Before, you had a 100% chance you can craft it with Harvest relatively easy, but that has since been nerfed. Now you get like a percentage chance that when you kill an enemy, it's going to explode. I want that 100% of the time. So let's get the gameplay. I'll show you guys what Vaal Arc does. So the difference between regular Arc and Vaal Arc really comes down to, you get a buff that makes it so your lightning damage is going to be lucky for a few seconds. So that means that your damage will roll twice, and that will include the crits, which will be really good, because as right now we have it on the mastery, where we make it so we will be able to get our non-crits as lucky. So what we're going to do is kill some enemies. You'll see that this will actually build up. Now the difference between Vaal Arc and regular Arc is you can't just use Vaal Arc again and again, but when you have a Vaal skill, you can actually have the base version of the skill for free, which is pretty cool. Now the only reason why you wouldn't want to play Vaal Arc is, one, you're lazy, and don't worry, I'm a lazy player too. I don't like pushing lots of different buttons, but the thing is that if you don't want to run Vaal Arc, just run regular Arc. You can get a higher level regular Arc for cheaper than a level 21 Vaal Arc. That's actually a very expensive thing. So we're going to go ahead and do this Legion. So we can go ahead and click on the shrine buff. I got this already set up for you. So what a Legion is, I don't know if I'm pretty sure I've explained it, but just in case, like for whatever reason, you're watching this and you haven't seen like what a Legion does, is basically you click on it, and what it's going to do is spawn a bunch of monsters. You're going to have to kill them once to activate them, and then you get to kill them again to actually get their drops. So I'll show you how it works, and we're going to show off Vaal Arc too. It's basically going to cause an awesome chain reaction. Watch, we'll activate it, and we're going to hit it, and you can just see everything pretty much pops. Sometimes things may be behind certain targets, or for whatever reason they don't pop, but it basically pops the entire screen, which is really awesome. You'll see there's a timer in the middle. That's how much time we have to clear out all the Legion things, but most of the time they'll all just pop instantly when we activate Vaal Arc. But again, sometimes there's certain ones that may be stronger than others that maybe will take an extra activation of vaal arc. No biggie. But you can see all of the drops over here. It's just so fast. I'm going to pick up this thing over here. And we can just kind of collect our rewards. We'll take the scarab. I do have stream of consciousness in my atlas, which makes it so we can't like use a lot of like different fragments. However, in return, we get more content. So you can see, this is why I like what's called Legion. But do what you want to do. You don't have to do it. And we're going to go ahead and get this guy down. And then we can just, I guess if we want to, we could complete this map. But basically just opening up the chest. And we can come back later and I can pick up the loot. I just don't want to make this video overly long. But obviously, yeah, we can kill things relatively fast with this build. Very, very good for cleaning up not only bosses, but the trash with this build, super, super good. Like I said, I'll come back and pick up the loot in a moment here. But the great thing with Impulsa is if we kill one target and it's near anything, it just pops and deletes everything with the exception of like bosses. But I guess we can go kill this thing too. Might as well. We're right over here. And if you can, sometimes you can get even elites, even the arch nemesis, you can get them all to pop as well. So one thing I want to go ahead and show off is basically the upgrades that I've gotten. I've gotten a lot of awesome pieces of gear, and keep in mind, you don't have to get these pieces of gear immediately. It's all just a progression in the game. So this is what we've done for the build in terms of like what we're using in the skills. So I've gotten what's called a +1/+1. You can get this on a wand, you can get on a dagger, you can get on lots of different one-handers. Basically what you're looking for is a one-handed item that will let you have +1 level to all spell skill gems. You also want to get +1 to level all lightning spell gems, so that's a +1/+1. The rest of the stats may not matter. I needed dexterity in my case, so this was like a really, really good pickup. I slammed an exalt to get the dexterity. That's all luck. However, I did craft to trigger a socketed spell when you use a skill with an 8-second cooldown. Spells triggered this way have 150% more cost. So what I've done here is the gems that I've put in here are going to be specifically Galvanic Field, and I want it to be level 1 because it's going to cost less mana, but I have a bunch of plus levels to skill gems, so it's going to be a level 5. The reason why is this doesn't actually deal the damage. What we're using this for is increased shock chance, as well as a bonus to being able to have power charge on crit, which is like right here. I'll put it in this order. So Galvanic Field, the order can matter in trigger socket. I mean, it doesn't matter in our case. It's more so for Necromancer where it kind of does matter. But for the most part, it doesn't matter in the order really here. But what I want to do is put in Galvanic Field, power charge on crit, and Assassin's Mark. What this will allow us to do is make it so we don't even have to cast these abilities. It's going to do it for us. So Galvanic Field will then be on an enemy. That's the giant circle. We'll activate the buff. We have the buff already here. You can see when it's there. And what's going to happen is if I hit an enemy, you're going to see that little thing around him. It's going to give me power charges. Power charges equals more crit as I'm scaling crit now. Before, if you want to, you still don't have to do crit. I mean, I've already mentioned Elemental Overload is still an excellent choice, but it's kind of up to you. And if you want to scale crit, feel free to scale crit. I'll also show off the passive tree real quick. Some of the things that I recommend everyone to get eventually in the game. Replica Conqueror's Efficiency can be really good if you're having mana issues. Really awesome thing to get. As well as getting a Watcher's Eye with plus armor while affected by Determination, or you can get anything that's going to boost your damage with Wrath. So it's kind of up to you what you want to get. I got this for relatively cheap. It was like 30C. But again, prices can fluctuate. Ideally, you'd get one that would have like, yes, you get bonuses while Determination, Wrath, and then if you get something else, hey, that could be excellent. But the thing is that the more things that you add, these can get actually pricey. So I try to keep my budget here within some sort of frame of like not like a 30-40 divine one. Like there are some insane jewels that you can get. Another thing that I really recommend you guys to get is the Anima Stone. So what it does is it lets us have more golems. If you are playing a golem build, obviously, yeah, you're going to have this. But getting this is very, very nice. I think I paid 2 divines for this one. If you want to, you can get one that has cannot be inflicted with corrupted blood. That would be really good to have, but the more things that you add to jewels, the more expensive it's going to be. I have like my you can't be inflicted corrupted blood over here on this jewel, but the rest of the stats on are kind of meh. It's because they get really expensive as you start adding more modifiers to them. But this is what I've spec'd into, and then on top of that, we do have the where is it? the masters we have is lightning damage with non-crit strikes is lucky. We have effectiveness of shock. We have non-projectile chaining, lightning skills chain 1+ time, and you can also, this is brand new, shocks you inflict spread to other enemies. You can get this as well. This is a fantastic thing to go ahead and get. However, I already have it on my gloves, so I don't need this. But if you don't have it on your gloves, you will want to get this. This is with the Eldritch currency, which are these little things over here that can modify your pieces of gear. You can have, it doesn't work on uniques, by the way, and it only works on gloves, boots, chest piece, and the helm. You're going to be able to get some sort of bonus. If I hold Alt, you can see which one is which. So there's a blue one and a red one. I think I'll probably talk more about it in like my playthrough that goes over everything, because in this league I don't really have a huge desire to do every single boss with this build. Is it capable of doing it? Yes, but I'm kind of waiting for some other buffs to come through. As they mentioned, they're going to be buffing the league a little bit more, but I've basically completed all the content, and I already have a video that goes over like how to summon these bosses and do these things that probably explains this a little bit more. As again, this league there's no new boss, so there's no like huge incentive for me to like go power up and farm for a long time, because keep in mind, getting a lot of these pieces of gear will take time. But the stats on the gloves, the only thing that was important was really dexterity. Obviously getting life and chaos res was great as well, but the main thing that I actually wanted this for is specifically getting that lightning exposure on hit applies negative lightning resistance, and then shocks you inflict spread to other enemies. That's how Impulse is able to destroy things super fast. But again, Doriani's prototype will outclass this in damage, no question at all. But this is what we've done for our pieces of gear. So Galvanic Field, Power Charger, and Crit, Assassin's Mark, that's in the weapon here. In terms of inside our gloves, we've got Arcane Surge support as well as an Anomalous Flame Dash. This is an alternate quality gem. It lets us move a little bit further when we use it versus regular Flame Dash. It's really cheap. You can pick these up if you want to, but it's not that big of a deal. So specifically, I need Arcane Surge support at level 4. This is where, before in the very beginning of the game, I was talking about you always want to level up your gems, with this exception in this build. There are other builds where certain things can be exceptions as well. Remember how like this, I want it just for the effect. I don't care about the damage of this. Not until we will get the Thunder Fists, and then we can actually have Galvanic Field do massive amounts of damage, but that'll be for maybe later. But Arcane Surge support, the reason why is because I'm not running Arcane Surge anymore, so I want that extra bonus in mana regen as well as extra damage, but I don't want to put it in my actual build because I could just get the bonus from just using Flame Dash, will then grant me Arcane Surge. But the thing is that it needs to activate every single time, because how Arcane Surge support, as you level it up, it will give you more damage, more mana regen. However, it's going to cost more mana to actually activate. So I'd have to Flame Dash like, I don't know, 20-30 times before it activates, which, you know, you can't really do because Flame Dash has like charges here. So it just take way too long. So it's much better to just put a low level one on, get a small bonus, and then get more damage off of crit, if that makes any sense. We also have Ice Golem here, and we have Defiance Banner. And then here's what I'm running for our main sources of damage. So we're running Inspiration, we're running Arc, we're running Increased Critical Damage Support, and we're also running Awaken Added Lightning Damage, or just regular added damage. This could be great as well. And then we're running Increased Critical Strike Support. Since these both hit 20, and they're both 20 quality, what I can do is hit these with a Vaal Orb. Now, you don't have to do this. I'm going to do this for the sake of the video, but I also just kind of do this in general, as I have some currency in case we mess this up if I really want to. So we're going to hit these with a Vaal Orb. What can a Vaal Orb do to this? Well, it can go to level 21, we can get increased quality, it can go lower in quality, it can lower the level. It's a risk, it's kind of a gamble. If it's going to go good or bad, I have no idea, because it's literally random. First one we hit, nothing happened. Next one we hit, we got to level 21. Hey, that's an upgrade, that's awesome. So this one, nothing happened, no biggie. If I want to, I can go buy or level up another one, get max quality, and then try to hit a level 21 just for that extra 1 to 2%. That's basically what you're looking for in like Path of Exile in terms of like far endgame. It's like getting these little like small little percentages. It adds up, right? So in terms of our ring, still running the same ring that we ran last time. In terms of our helmet, I think I re-rolled in terms of essences on it. Again, using those extra Eldritch currency, the Eldritch E-Core, as well as the Embers, I hit Lightning Pen, as well as adds lightning damage to spells. I just rolled the small ones. They can get pricey quite fast. At the moment, like the lesser, these are like 2 to 3 chaos a piece. for the small ones, but as you just play the game, you'll get them as drops. Just use them as you go along, because you can't get really a minus like effect to your items. Like, it's always going to be some sort of benefit. Maybe it gives you cold damage. It's not really too useful, but it's not going to hurt you is what I'm saying. It's not like vaal orbing or randomly re-rolling everything. It's just the two, what's called the implicits on the item. So you can see where it says Eater World implicit modifier, lesser and lesser. These are the smallest ones. You can get way better ones, but again, it takes some time, and again, later we can, if we want to, change that. So I already mentioned Impulse. This thing can be very expensive. I 6-linked this myself. Yeah, if you guys remember on the stream, it took me like over 1,000 of the fusers. 6-socketing is pretty easy in Path of Exile, but 6-linking, it's not really easy. I got really unlucky. I've hit sometimes in fusers, we hit it with like 20, 30, and we get it. Sometimes it takes hundreds, sometimes it can take 1,000 plus. Yeah, it took me like 1,000 plus to get this, but I bought this for I bought it for 1 divine, and then I just modify it. As time goes on, these could get cheaper. I mean, eventually, last league, I think these were like 30 chaos, but not for a 6-link. You will then 6-socket, 6-link it if you want, maybe a 6-link one, maybe it'll be like a couple divines. Again, time progresses, prices change. Don't worry too much about the rolls on it. It doesn't really have rolls that are super important, that matter. The only thing that's really important is when you kill a shocked enemy, it explodes. Very awesome. So this is what we're running for in terms of the gems, which we went over. And then I'm running Immortal Flesh. It gives me some mana regen. Plus, like, there was a double corruption on this, which had like increased skill effect duration and as well as increased cast speed during any flask effect. I was like, okay, I'll pick it up. It was like really cheap. Immortal Flesh does give us negative elemental resistances, and I really like the bounce back that it gives with that 300 life regen, which is awesome. We also have like increased armor while not ignited, frozen, or shocked, and since we are immune to all of those, well, we're going to always have 40% increased armor, which is quite nice. So right now, in terms of our stats, if we look at the life regen, I have over 1,000 regen on life, so it's really good. Usually how it works is casters, you can get like energy shield recharge or energy like leech. However, I just like to bounce back regardless if I'm hitting a target or not, because there's some certain degens that go on the map, and sometimes if you stand in them, yeah, you will die. Like, the main thing that's really important also is like all of my flasks are an auto charge. Like, I don't have to hit my flask at all, they just automatically activate, and once they activate, pretty much we'll have max on all of the resistances, and we got max block as well. Like, we are really set up in the defensive category, which we'll talk about just in a minute here in terms of like the build. But this is what I'm running in terms of my flasks, which is, yeah, there. Also, the helm, there's nothing really too important with this that I need to mention. Just arc change additional time. Buy that, throw some essences on it, and hopefully you can get some extra life, maybe some chaos res here and there. Don't worry about too much about getting 75 chaos res unless you're really looking to do a very specific boss or certain maps that may have some sort of mechanic that do that. This amulet was kind of expensive. I paid 1 divine, and then I enchanted it with Whispers of Doom, which is a very expensive enchant. I believe it's the most expensive enchant in the game, which costs about 1 divine. It's just for the enchant because it's triple gold. So what this does, this is a brand new like Lake of Kalandra amulet here. So what it does is it grants us the ability to have well, I enchanted it with Whispers of Doom, but it's specifically giving us that extra +2 to level of all skill gems. It does give us a negative of level of all cold skill gems. So all skill gems +2, minus to all cold. Does it really matter for cold? No, because we're doing lightning, right? I mean, I am using Frost Shield, which is still something that I do like to throw up. It just gives me extra crit, but is it going to really matter that we have -2 to it? Not really. I mean, honestly, I could drop this thing completely. I just like how it looks too. But yeah, that's the amulet that we got. Don't worry about getting one exactly the same. You can get a +2 to lightning. You can get a +2 to anything. But the reason why I wanted this one, it gives me +2 to minimum frenzy charges, which will increase our damage as well as our cast speed, which I like. It's just free extra frenzy charges, increased damage, and cast speed, which is awesome. Now this ring I got for really cheap. I paid 50 chaos for it. I've always really liked Kikazaru, so what it does is it gives us reduced effective curses on us. We can also go on the Pantheon and get a reduction. Let me move my face out of the way. So we got Soul of Yugioh over here, which gives us 30% reduced effective curses on us once we get the ability to get the soul. So yeah, that's really good, and I'll talk more about that in like another video, because my other guide goes over everything in the entire league, whereas this one, I might not be killing every single like boss, because keep in mind, people like to do different things for endgame, and some of these things take a really long time to set up, and there's nothing that's been changed. So literally, like, I already have the video up. That's why I'm just kind of mentioning my other guide from last league, as nothing has changed to like some of these bosses. Obviously, it's playing a little bit different. It's playing a minion build, but the core concept is the same. All I'm doing is dashing forward, like, throughout the gameplay, and I'm just activating Arc, and then when I can use Vaal Arc, I will use Vaal Arc. But like in terms of like how this boss works, when this boss does this move over here, like I already have those videos up. So again, it'll be in the pinned comment. Keep in mind, upgrade when you want to, but Kikuzaru, I love it. I got this double implicit over here, where you can look for these if you want to. I mean, you don't have to get on a Kikuzaru, you can get it on whatever. You can even get a belt that has, you cannot be ignited. I even have some of my older gear here, just as a reference. Like, I really like being immune to all of the effects. Like, I don't like getting ignited, I don't like being hit by bleeds, I don't like getting hit by anything. And keep in mind, you don't have to do this immediately, it's all progression. If you're still using Singularity, heck, this is one of the best things in the entire game. This actually still gives me more DPS than this, but I'm lazy. I don't want to activate our Assassin's Mark, which gives us extra crit strike chance, crit multi. I don't want to activate it. I just want things to just go super smooth, and I don't have to cast anything except for Arc. And if I want to cast other things, sure, I can go ahead and do it. Yeah, Kikuzaru is just really good. It just happened to have the role of can't be ignited and bleeding, and I picked this up for 50 Chaos Orbs, which I think was a really good deal. But again, you can get this on a belt, and you can also get a ring. Do I still have this ring? Okay, here, I got another ring. I always like to look for a ring that has both of these. This belt, honestly, is not that good, but it's a brand new thing that came out for Lake of Kalandra. It got hugely buffed, so I'm like, I want to play with one of the new uniques and just see kind of how it goes, and I've honestly enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, a belt at the end of the day for Path of Exile, you're really just looking at a stat stick, as in you're looking for life, you're looking for resistances. This gives us negative resistances, which could be argued that it's bad, but it does give us a massive amount of armor, massive amount of regen, and also mana regen, which is kind of nice too. But it's not really that big of a deal. Like, don't worry about this belt, especially with getting the implicits. It doesn't really matter. This belt is actually kind of bad, but I just want to play with something new, if that makes any sense, because it got buffed, and yeah, I overall think it's okay though. But in terms of our boots, still getting a damage penetrates elemental resistances, and then with the Eldritch Currency, cooldown doesn't really do anything. Increased action speed is absolutely amazing. That's basically like Tailwind, increased action speed. It's basically half of a Tailwind boot. But yeah, obviously the best idea is to get boots that actually have Tailwind. You get Onslaught on them. Boots can be one of the most expensive things in the entire game. Because there's so many parameters that need to be hit, but like what we're looking for is just life and resistances. It's good enough for me. I'm happy with this, no biggie. Still rocking the same shield, and in fact in the boots what we're running is Summon Lightning Golem, we're running Stone Golem and Chaos Golem and Frost Shield. Frost Shield's totally optional. It just gives us a small amount of crit. What's the amount of crit that we get from this? So let's go to here, and then what's our spell crit strike chance right now? So it goes from 30 to 34. It's a small amount. Keep in mind, there's a lot of numbers that may not match up correctly in here. Don't always think this is like the correct number. I'll show you in PoE. Our damage is not like this number. It's way different. But it's also because there's certain things that, like, for example, it may not like roll lucky in this stat chart. There's also things that I've gotten, for example, like high voltage, which is 100% increased crit strike chance against shocked enemies. There's also lightning penetration over here, where it's not going to really increase a massive amount of damage other than like their skills increase lightning damage. There's a lot of like numbers that may not be perfect in here, so keep that in mind just as a Path of Exile player in general. But yeah, like getting the 100% increase strike, it's not going to count every enemy is shocked. When I will have an insane amount of shock that which we'll go over like later and stuff when I open up PoB. Dang, this video is already kind of long, but that's how Path of Exile is. Sometimes I get too excited to start talking about a lot of things. But we're running Wrath, Tempest Shield, Determination. If I did have the room, I would think about adding Herald of Thunder, which we could definitely do later down the line. But we're running Molten Shell, increased duration, as well as cast when damage taken. So before, I believe we were running Steel Skin. The reason why I like Molten Shell, it's level 20 now? Okay, it's 20. Okay, I actually wouldn't mind qualitying this up, like, because it increases the duration. Do I have 20? Normally what you do is you throw in 1 GCP, but and then you re-level everything up. Okay, I only have 14. If I had 20, I would throw it in max quality, hit it with a Vaal Orb, see if we can get it to 21. You know, that's all about min-maxing. There's like 1 or 2% here. It does add up. But this is basically what I wanted to show off in terms of the build, in terms of our last points if you want to. Eventually, I actually want to talk about this just briefly, just for a minute here, because this is kind of important, because people always look at DPS charts, right? Because I understand too, and I kind of want to explain things, because some people are like, my build doesn't do that much DPS. How can I improve my DPS? Don't worry too much about looking at the top DPS, because a lot of the top DPS players, they will do certain things in the game that give them insane amounts of DPS. Let me go and show you guys, like, for example, like, here's the leaderboards for specifically a elementalist that's using an Impulsa, right? So we're on the leaderboard right now. We are, well, I don't know, top 10-ish, whatever. Looking at the damage over here, you're like, dude, this guy's got 42 million, right? The thing is that they are running something that's going to make it so they're going to take a huge amount of damage, or they're going to have an item that's super, super hard to get. Do you want to get it? Sure, by all means. If you can, go for it. I mean, this guy's got a bottle of faith. This thing is not cheap. A lot of these things do take time to get. But I also want to explain, don't copy these builds exactly if you don't know what you are doing with it. The reason why I say that is because some people just build just so they can be number one on the leaderboard. Is this build good? Yeah, it's still good. But at the end of the day, look at how much life and energy shield this one has, right? You can see that the stats, like if I copy this, let's go ahead and copy this, and I'll throw it into POB over here. So I'll go ahead and open up my POB. You can see, like, right now, as far as, like, as long as our flasks and everything are up, like, we have 4.5 mil DPS, right? Which is still, like, really good, okay? But, like, do you need that much DPS? Like, we can clean up most of the content in the game relatively good, but look at our effective hit pool, okay? This is really important. Or our maximum chaos damage that we can take, because this guy's chaos res, I think, was, like, a lot different. Like, even though they may have way more damage than us, like, let's go ahead and import this. Like, what's important is really, like, the effective hit pool is 158,000, right? And we can take 50,000, and we have a 1,000 life regen, and on top of that, we're, like, maxed out on our resistances. We have movement speed modifier 99. If I go to another person's build, let's just take this one that's, like, currently the highest DPS, right? If we go and import this, we just go ahead and go to the imported build. We'll go to import, and we'll import it. You can see, yeah, they have insane amounts of damage, but they can only take 17,000 in a chaos hit, where we can take 50,000. We're also looking at the movement speed modifier, as long as their flasks are activated. I think they're running a mage blood here, which is a very expensive item too. But also think about, like, how much survivability do some of these builds have, and also do they have cluster jewels? Like, some of these cluster jewels can get very, very, very expensive. On the top of that, when I do it like a beginner's guide, the reason why I show things in a certain way is because I feel like it's more beginner friendly. I do think cluster jewels are great. Would I improve my build by throwing in a cluster jewel? Absolutely. But a lot of people, for whatever reason, they get scared of cluster jewels, and people are like, oh, it has a cluster jewel, I don't want to play the build. And so I'm just like, okay, I understand. And I've learned that through other content creators too. They're like, okay, if you don't want to do cluster jewels, and, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, people get scared of them, but they're really not scary. You just get, it's just like any other jewel. You put it in, and it gives you the stats, but it extends the skill tree. And I think the reason why people get scared of cluster jewels is, one, there is a lot of small, like, different nodes. There's a lot of things that you just have to know about cluster jewels, which I do explain in my, like, a super thorough guide. But, like, again, this one is supposed to be kind of short here in terms of, like, what we're doing. Yeah, so keep that in mind too when you're looking at the top DPS in any build, because this is, like, a frequently asked question when I stream. I title mine, like, you know, helpful beginner's guide, you know, and on top of that, like, helpful streamer. So, like, a lot of times people will ask me, like, questions and, like, how do you survive more? And I'm usually like, you need determination, you need grace, you need some of these auras, you need mana reservation efficiency, which can be attained here as well as over here. Where is it? There we go. And you can also get that as a thing that you can roll on your helmet. You can get the Eldritch currency, so you can do that as well on your helmet, and you can even get it as a roll. You can get, like, 17%, like, more. I believe you can get, like, I believe it's like 7% in the helmet, and then you get another, like, 10% as a roll. But, like, you can get more things, and you can get more upgrades. And I may, you know, go for Thunder Fist. I may do other things. Another thing that I really highly recommend to actually get is getting a bunch of these instilling orbs. You can purchase these from other players, as well as glass blowers baubles. They cost 5 each, but what you can do is you can go to the crafting best, and when it charges reach full, you can throw this enchantment on, and what it's going to do is make it so it's just going to automatically activate these once you reach a certain point in whatever the requirement is. It can be used when you take a savage hit or whatever the case may be. You can have these flasks activate. In my older gear, I was actually talking about Dogeries, as well as this one's a fantastic one, Forbidden Taste. But at this point, like, I'm so tanky that I really don't need this. But it's still an okay thing to have. It just kind of prevents the feeling of getting one-shot. If you get one-shot, you're still going to get one-shotted. But what this allows you to do is, if you would take, basically it lets you survive things that would be double big hits, which would be excellent. I mean, our shield is also making it so we take 51% reduced damage from crit strikes, which is a really good effect. However, it's kind of up to you on where you want to take your build at this point. You can also get things that reduce your effective, or the enemy's effectiveness of crits. There's something over here where you take 30% reduced extra damage from crit strikes, and at that point, yeah, I'll be good on crit strikes, right? But making your build survive a lot more. Like, basically, if you compare like my build to, let's say, some of the other builds that are on the leaderboards for PoE Ninja, which is a great website, which we've already talked about. It may not be Ignite immune, it may not bleed immune. Like right now, we are shock immune because we have the Tempest Shield, and we also have freeze immunity. Like, I try to make the build as easy as possible for most players. But yeah, I've been basically running Arid Lake as our favorite map. You can see over here, that's kind of what I've put my stuff into for my favorite maps. But keep in mind, do whatever map that you enjoy the most if you want to. Like, I like to mix up my content here, and if we want to, we can take on Cyrus Shaper and like all those other things later. But in terms of like the gameplay, it's going to be kind of the same. So again, I'll link my other video, but it's kind of just an update to this build in particular. But the last thing that we'll really do, if I do end up doing it, I mean, the build's good enough, but the thing that I want to do is basically use the new skills. So what we can do is we can throw Galvanic Field on a Thunder Fist. We would be probably dropping like Power Charge on crit. We'd probably drop Frost Shield because we need 4 extra gem slots to make all this work. And then I will have to then manually cast this, which I'm a lazy player. I like to have everything automated, and I just kind of focused in on just collecting the loot and stuff like that. But we'll hop back in this map, collect the loot, and that'll be pretty much it for the video. But anyways, hopefully this video helped you guys out. But if you guys did enjoy it, drop a like on your way out, and I'll see you guys maybe on the next part. And they'll probably be updating the lake again. I just dropped the video on it. Check it out if you guys haven't. If I remember, I'll try to pin it. But the lake is still not buffed, and that's like one of my biggest concerns with this league, is they keep on buffing the lake, which is definitely a double thumbs up for me, because the lake needs to be buffed up, because it's the brand new league mechanic, and a lot of people just aren't interested in doing it, myself included, other than when they buff it, I play it, I'm like, okay, is it good enough? Is it good enough? And eventually, maybe it'll be strong enough, and I'll update you guys with videos on that. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, drop a like on it. I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. I'm out. Peace.